Thank you. For our next presentation, I would like to call Nirav Amrelia.
Should I say put it? Will it be fine to put them? No, just keep them this way. Yeah, that's fine. So, yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, well, hello, I am Nirav Amrelia. And today in this seminar, I am going to discuss the topic, or we can say a hypothesis, that is realism and critique of social, religious, and economical relationship to individual freedom in George Orwell's novels. There are two novels I have picked up. One is A Clergyman's Daughter, and the second one is Keep the Aspidistra Flying. So, next, please. So I have made some hypotheses that we going to ponder over. The very first one is that why should we regurgitate the two topics like poverty, authoritarianism, religious bigotry? So what's the need basically? Why to chew it again? Why to regurgitate? Why to ruminate it? And the second is, does Orwellian insight serve any purpose for present life? In inspecting cultural dynamics, so it is the second hypothesis. Third one is the religion versus individual freedom in A Clergyman's Daughter. So what basically Orwell does is that he always depicts the dystopian society in all his works, ranging from essays, novels, many things. And the fourth topic is, can Dorothy here, our protagonist of The Clergyman's Daughter, can Dorothy here be seen as a Devdasi? So I have taken a comparison. I have juxtaposed this Dorothy and the ritual or the rite of this Devdasi in India, as far as religious strictures are concerned. And the fifth one is the conflict of art versus capitalism. So there it is kind of age-old conflict, and it is never ending. Like there is capitalism and how the artist will sustain against it. So it is there in Keep the Aspidistra Flying. So first, let me make a point clear that what Aspidistra is. It is a plant, and it basically used to be there in the England in early modern era. So around 1930. So after post World War, post First World War, the Great War. So the Aspidistra is a plant. So the people used to refer that keep it flying. So keep your things going on even if you don't have ample amount to live on. So you don't have economical stability. Still keep on living. So this keep the Aspidistra flying. So and the sixth one related to the fifth one is that Ken Gordon Comstock. Now, who is Gordon Comstock? He is the central or the major character of our novel Keep the Aspidistra Flying, written by Sir George Orwell. So, can Gordon Comstock be seen as a realistic depiction of the aspiring writers who face the problems? Like, so the omittance is there, but fine. So, who face the problem like in real life? How will they sustain? So, only artistry will not make them sustain their life. So, next slide, please. Now the very first thing. So why should we regurgitate? So these things are very like you can say cliche, passe, we can say. So this poverty. So everybody knows about what poverty is. There are types of poverty. Those who poverty rather. So those who study economics, they know it very well. So but and the second thing, authoritarianism. We have seen many world war that this Adolf Hitler is there, Benito Mussolini is there, and many other dictators are there. So everybody knows that, even the child knows. Then what is the need of regurgitating? So what regurgitate means, let me clarify. So mammals like cows and buffaloes, like they once they have eaten the food, and when they are sitting in a kind of shelter or solace, we can say, so they will ruminate it. So they will chew it again from there. So why do we need? Why is there a need to regurgitate them again and again? So again, so I have Amartya Sen. We all know that he was a Nobel laureate in economic field. So Amartya Sen, in the beginning of his essay, the very first line he writes that much about poverty is obvious enough. So everybody knows that. One does not need elaborate criteria, cunning measurement, or public analysis. So he tells that poverty must be analyzed through the statistical data. So, but it is not so that we should overlook the poverty we see around us. Like we have seen many people like around us, they're not even having some a kind of shelter for them, and even our law books are not containing any homelessness like nom-dom policies there in Britain. So those who are not having homes, still they survive on the government policy. But in India, it is kind of difficult because you need your Aadhaar, you need some many things to identify yourself in order to get some we can say this help from the government. And this second quotation is that it is Wilfred Guerin. So we all know that Wilfred Guerin is the leading cultural critic in field of cultural studies. Okay, so he says a tyrannical aristocrat. Now we are see from poverty we are moving to this authoritarianism. So now what Wilfred Guerin has to say, he says that a tyrannical aristocrat does not just independently wield power, but is empowered by discourses, accepted ways of thinking, writing, and speaking, and practices that embody, exercise, and amount to power. See, now it is very well known fact that Hitler was not Hitler was not risen by himself. So he was support from the people, and the hearings he made in political conventions. So all the people were like charming that okay, you are the most charismatic person. So now how the dictator rises? It is not by himself or herself. It is by the support of the people. The discourse around made around the people that this person, like we have the concept of avatar in Indian mythology or Indian theology, we can say. So this concept of avatar is what? Like a human is born and he does something marvelous, then the other human fails to do. Then we say, okay, you are avatar. You are the avatar or reincarnation of God or the Supreme Lord. So it is the thing, and that is why we fail to criticize that person. Even if that person does bad, we just want to like concoct some theory around it that we say, okay, you've done this bad, but there is some good into it. So just we do that. And for that, these discourses are very important. Now, next, please. And now the second hypothesis is that does Orwellian insight. So first of all, I have given the definition taken from this Oxford and languages. Does Orwellian insight serve any purpose for present time in inspecting cultural dynamics? So well, it is not so that once a writer has written something, it is completely forgotten in the next coming ages. No, it is not so. Whatever he or she has written must be remembered because historical sense, as T.S. Eliot in his essay said, tradition and individual the pastness of the past. So whatever is done must be remembered in order to not to repeat if the mistake is done. Okay, so it like cultural amnesia that our Carl Jung is giving this term, the very famous psychologist, a contemporary of Sir Sigmund Freud. So it is the thing. So what definition of Orwellian we get from the Oxford Languages Dictionary that characteristic or the features of the writings of George Orwell. So, especially with reference to his dystopian account of a future totalitarian state in a 1984. So, in 1947, the novel was written, and in 1948, it was published. So, in that, he imagines a dystopia where all the controls were taken by the government authoritarian inks of party. He imagines the England, but it we can say it is pertinent to each and every culture where the despot, or we can say the authoritarian, the kleptocratic power rules in the name of government, in the name of state policy. So just imagine being in such a state, geologically, mental, and physical as well. So how one feels that once a total freedom is curbed by the state policy, government, one autocrat ruler. So it is the thing. And now Timothy Garton, as he is a very a critic or a paper writer. Timothy Garton's review of Peter Davis's The Complete Works of George Orwell, entitled, he says, but he compares Orwell in a bit negative or a neutral way, we can say. So he says, yet Orwell was no Shakespeare. That what Shakespeare can take height whenever it comes to him. Yet Orwell was no Shakespeare. Orwell fails to do. He was not a universal genius, nor was he a natural master of the English language. So how can even Orwell writes the politics in the English language? And still, these kind of statements are made on him. So it is a kind of thinkable on that. And Norman Collins are there, and many things. Nick Bentley. Proceed to the next one. Yeah. Now, the hypothesis next that religion versus individual freedom. So there is a age-old conflict, like in our American transcendentalism, we have this individualism or individual freedom, we can say, in a clergyman's daughter religion. So there is always a clash between individual freedom that you want to do something, but your pope, your priest, your pujari, mullah, or whoever is there in the authority, like we are having four institutions in Victorian society. That one of them is the religious institution where Pope rules. Where Pope rules. Only too far. Okay. Then proceed to the next one. Then again go. Acha, keep this. So can Dorothy here be seen as a Devdasi as far as religious strictures are concerned? So how Devdasis were there? Like they were offered to the god, or somebody would call it the whore or prostitute of god. So now our protagonist Dorothy here is doing the same. She is having the same things like I want to do for my father is my father is like a priest or pope in there. So I have to be like the ideal Christian girl. So that concept she wants to leave, but she ultimately fails because she falls in an amnesia and she went to the new state. Fine, now proceed. Acha, now this conflict of art, that is, it was like, we can say it was already discussed, like there is an artist who wants to live on the basis of their art. So now the capitalism comes. Now proceed to the again. Yes. So now this picture tells 1,000 words according to the theme. See, now the person is drawing something round. So first of all, we look at him. He is an artist. So he's making some drawing. But this art, he makes like the rupee, and the rupee falls on him, and he like dies there. So he makes his art use of to earn money. So now the whole artistry. So in Kazuo Ishiguro's An Artist of the Floating World, we are getting this four conflict: that art for art's sake, that Seiji Moriyama, art for life's sake, our our protagonist Masuji Ono, art for business sake, Takeda firm, and art for a nation's or imperialism sake, that Chisu Matsuda. So these things are there. So proceed to the next one. Okay. So now this hypothesis remains that Gordon Comstock. So now I have taken some three real life writers who have failed like Gordon Comstock at the end of the novel fails. He thinks, okay, I want to leave my job, I want to just be a full-time writer, but he fails to do so, and ultimately he comes again back to his job. So these are the three. Stephen King is there. His this book, the Tommy Knockers, Kurt Warner. So these are the things. So these are my work cited, and here I am. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you.
Nirav, Umbrella. Nirav. Nice content, Nirav. And it is not easy to speak as you go. No? Yes, Nirav.